Hello and welcome. It's always a pleasure to have you for company on the program each week. As you know, this is where you get first-hand information about all the latest happenings in the world of business. I am Margaret Mary Osuyobor. On this edition of the program, we will take a breather from our regular lineup to bring you highlights of the 2017 National Insurance Conference in Abuja. The National Insurance Conference, which is organized by the Insurance Industry Consultative Council (IICC), is today the biggest platform that brings policymakers and stakeholders in the insurance industry together to discuss ways on how to move the insurance industry forward.
The position we are now on the table I sat yesterday, a comment came up based on all that has been discussed. That are we not sure we are sitting on a dying industry? We have held a lot of conferences, but I think at this time is the time where we have to sit down and think of what critical things to do to move this industry from where we are. So we need a total change.
Now, the 2017 edition with the theme Nigeria Open for Business was held recently at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. Being the biggest gathering of insurance practitioners in the country, over 500 delegates were in attendance. And the three-day conference, as always, afforded delegates and participants the opportunity to deliberate on how best to move this critical sector of the Nigerian economy forward. Now, this is what we have for you today. Do sit back, relax, and enjoy the package. Details shortly. Please stay with us.
The idea of hosting a unified national conference by the insurance industry was a conception of the Insurance Industry Consultative Council (IICC) as a way of projecting the Nigerian insurance industry as a united subsector that would attract better respect and recognition by members of the public and relevant stakeholders. With the success of previous editions, the 2017 edition was recently held at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. The theme was Nigeria Open for Business. Many believe that the theme of the conference could not have been more timely than now that the policy direction of the present administration is focused on creating a business-friendly environment in order to achieve its economic recovery and growth plan blueprints. In attendance were over 500 delegates. The 3 days conference kicked off with a welcome cocktail which afforded delegates to chit-chat with friends and colleagues. Welcoming delegates to the conference on the opening day, the Commissioner for Insurance, Alhaji Mohammed Kari, stated that if the dream to open Nigeria for business is to be realized, the way the financial regulation is constituted at the moment needs urgent review.
If the dream to make Nigeria easy for business to be realized, sir, then the way the financial regulation is constituted in Nigeria need an urgent review. Operators in most sectors are regulated by up to 3, sometimes 4 financial regulators, with multiple requirements for each and in most cases similar and either-or options, which defeats the regulatory norm of specific oversight in financial regulation. Most irritating, according to an operator who told me, are the multiple penalties that may arise from the same infraction. Regulators are now even venturing into other sectors, usurping the role of other regulators without due regard to the established laws. The Honorable Minister, I request, should challenge the Financial Services Regulatory Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, to revisit the FSS 2020, that's the Financial System Strategy, and within a time to come up with a proposal on the future of financial regulation in Nigeria.
In a bid to actualize the economic recovery and growth plan, government is placing emphasis on the ease of doing business. because the aim of the ERGP, simply put, is to optimize local content and empower local businesses. Delivering the opening remarks on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Dr. Mahmoud Issa Dutse, said that government will continue to support the insurance sector to continue to contribute effectively to sustainable economic growth.
To consolidate on progress being made, the federal government would play its part to ensure that government assets are adequately insured. Through the Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme launched recently, we will also train insurance brokers and underwriters, because these are the people who support individuals in obtaining insurance policies that hedge potential losses of wealth and assets. As the federal government, we appreciate the fact that the insurance industry is dynamic and creates employment and entrepreneurship opportunities at all levels. We will therefore support this sector to continue to contribute effectively to sustainable and inclusive economic growth.
The first paper session of the conference eschewed the theme Nigeria Open for Business. Speaker was Mr. Tony Elumelu, CON, Chairman Tony Elumelu Foundation. Chairman of session was the Director General of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Mr. Laoye Jayola. Discussants were Mr. Zachary Emmanuel from the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Hope Jongo of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, NEZIM, while moderator was Mr. Frank Aibogu, Managing Director, Business Day newspaper. In his presentation, Mr. Elumelu noted that for Nigeria to attract investment, the public sector must improve its processes of doing business.
For Nigeria to successfully position itself to promote domestic business and attract investments, the public sector must improve its process of doing business. This is very, very important. As Insurance Limited is an example where, despite attempts to finalize a license, the delay in processing has cost our company significant in terms of resources and return on investment. We got approval in principle June 29, 2015. This is 2 years down the line, it's not there. We got people to resign from industry in anticipation of startup. They don't have jobs today. This is the kind of bureaucracy that we need to deal with if we must position Nigeria as a destination for business. Rwanda is a fantastic example of government trying to deal with reform agenda and to deal with bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a cause of concern. If not tackled, will discourage otherwise willing investors from within and outside the country. We need both our domestic investors as well as our foreign investors to definitely, in fact, more of domestic investors to show to foreign investors that our country is indeed good for business. Foreign investors do realize that if a country is good for local investors, then it must be good for them. So the first thing most times nations do is to create the right environment for local entrepreneurs so that it will signal to foreign entrepreneurs that that country is a good investment destination.
Summing up the session, the chairman, Mr. Jayola, said that most nations of the world have leverage on technology to create efficiency.
Every nation has used technology to create efficiency. How have we used that? I mean, the keynote speaker spoke regarding how to make public sector more efficient. Many people have leverage on technology in our line for transparency, in our line for efficiency. So we haven't done the things on a continuous basis, and we haven't done them holistically together. Sometimes you see the federal government saying something, state governments are doing something different. So we are where we are because we haven't planned in the long term, we haven't planned together, and we haven't holistically determine what exactly is the Nigerian agenda and how do we want to see this nation grow. We don't have that.
The second paper of the conference was entitled Doing Business in Nigeria, a Comparative Analysis. Speaker was Dr. Franklin Wogu, Senior Lecturer, Strategy, Finance and Risk Management, Lagos Business School. Chairman of session was Mr. Okechukwu Enelama, Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Discussants were Mr. Muda Yusuf, Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Shola Tinubu, Managing Director, Skip Nigeria Limited, Mr. Ganiu Musa, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Cornerstone Insurance PLC, while moderator was Mr. Eddie Efekwa, Chairman of the Nigerian Insurers Association, NIA. In his presentation, Dr. Wagu said that the only way insurance can move forward in Africa is to marry the informal insurance sector with the formal insurance sector.
The only way insurance will move forward in Africa is how do we marry the formal insurance sector with the informal insurance sector. Financial inclusion will never increase until we see how we can get the informal financial sector with the formal financial sector working. Interestingly, we discussed this, and the Diamond Bank is actually implementing some of these strategies. They've developed what we call Diamond Yellow. And in few months, these people that you see on the road, the Keke Napep, the informal guys, they've raised about 4 billion by opening accounts with them. And the reason why, how they are doing it, that the informal guys are helping them to manage it. So how do we create a bridge between the informal sector and the formal sector? And to achieve that, we need to properly look at our legal system. If we continue to use a legal system that majority of the people don't understand, and they don't believe in, and they don't accept, there is no way we can move forward. If you want to buy a land in Nigeria, like in Lagos, for example, you buy from the family, your Molile, and you do all the necessary paperwork, sign and everything, before you now get to the government to start signing again. At the end of the day, you're operating in two legal systems. So you have the informal legal system and you have the formal legal system.
In his contribution during the discussion, Mr. Tinubu said that Nigeria is actually open for business given the myriad of infrastructural challenge that we face, but the ease of doing business will help us engage in trade.
It is true that we've talked about is Nigeria open for business? And what I hear is that how can we say we are open for business when we have all the issues of corporate governance, all the issues of dearth of infrastructure? But I differ in this area because I actually think the fact that we have the gaps in infrastructure, etc., means that we are actually open for business. The ease of doing that business is now a totally different matter, because the ease of doing the business happens to be the catalyst that will enable us engage in trade and actually exploit Nigeria's open for business. So my contribution here really is that we need to start looking inwards at ourselves as doctors, understanding that we are not perfect. If we're definitely very ill, if we were not ill, we would not need the doctor. But all of us have that role. And as we begin to hold and bear that responsibility in our own little space, then things will begin to move.
In his own contribution, Mr. Yusuf said that government must constantly look at its policies.
In order to encourage domestic investment, we need funds that are affordable. What we are facing in the business environment today is a situation where the government is crowding out the private sector in the financial market. If government is borrowing at 22%, 18%, how much will the private sector borrow? And how do we mobilize domestic investment? Just this morning, I got a text from the Computer Village Association telling me that the Chinese is crowding them out in the computer village. And part of the reason is that the Chinese will come with some very cheap funds, and before you know, they will overrun the Nigerians that are in the business. It's a major issue.
Summing up the session, the chairman, Mr. Nalama, challenged the insurance industry to self-regulate, not so much because of penalties, but because of accrued benefits.
But self-regulation means that the participants in an industry take responsibility for some of the outcomes. And let me give you the secret. I belong, as those of you that know my background, I belong to a number of, even if I say so, elite organizations. One of the examples is the Chartered Financial Analysts that started from the US, now a global organization. You know how they do it? by the benefits they have grown for their members. It's not so much penalty as in government penalty. No. Just them saying you're no longer, you're out, will make you behave yourself. Because when you carry that title, you know, the number of benefits that accrue to you is such that the incentive is there to stay in. So self-regulation means that you're upping the ante, you're raising the game in terms of the benefits members get from being in the association. And therefore, the mere threat of exclusion or expulsion or removal causes them to want to fall in line.
With the serious paper sessions, delegates at the conference settled for the superlative dinner. Chairman of the dinner was the Commissioner for Insurance, who was represented by Mr. George Onakena, Deputy Commissioner of Finance and Administration. IICC for the first time partnered with an NGO to offer free medical services and gift items to the IDP camps as part of their corporate social responsibility. The IICC also used the occasion of the dinner to say thank you and well done to the Chairman Local Organizing Committee and his team. Then, of course, it was dance galore. Day 2 of the conference kicked off with a paper session on insurance industry navigating the odds. Chairman of session was Mrs. Bisi Lamikara, Partner Head of Management Consulting KPMG. Speaker was Mr. Wole Oshin, Group Managing Director, Custodian and Allied Insurance PLC. Discussants were Mrs. Ekioma Ezebe, Managing Director, Crystal Trust Insurance Brokers Limited. Mr. Tunde Fajemiroku, Executive Director, ICO Insurance PLC, and Mrs. Ebele Wanchuku, Managing Director, Zenith General Insurance Limited. Mr. Oshin, in his thought-provoking presentation, suggested the need to create Idea Laboratory in the office of the regulator.
This is my suggestion to the industry, that we allow an open door for innovation by creating an innovation laboratory in the office of the regulator. I got this idea from Singapore, where the Singaporean regulator actually says that, look, the way they have been able to continue to stimulate innovation in the insurance industry is that they just spot ideas and concepts in the laboratory, and there are people that are working on it. But in the meantime, the new products would have been given an approval in principle. So they go to market very quickly. However, they can be recalled. It's like manufacturing a bad product. You have a product recall from a manufacturer. So if a product comes and it is looked at within a period of 1 week and there's nothing fundamentally dangerous about it, it should be allowed to get out. Within a short period of time, the regulator has the power to say, come back, stop that product. We can't allow it to move on. But it allows that flow of innovation, idea generation, and stimulation in the industry. I want to suggest that this is given 1 week from the date of submission to be granted approval in principle to reach the market. I've put the caveat. A defective product can be withdrawn by the regulator at any time. The regulator has powers. The truth is, doing nothing or further tightening regulation will slowly mark the beginning of the end of the industry as we know it. And that's the future that I'm talking about.
In her presentation, Mrs. Wanchuku said that insurance practitioners should make the industry more interesting to attract people.
We need to move from waiting for compulsory insurances to be enforced to building an industry where people are actually happy and excited to buy our products. I think it's nice to have the compulsory product. I support all the efforts to actually push them, but I think we need to push our value more than we push compulsion. Lastly, I'll speak on bank assurance. I'm happy that the regulator has now approved, and a lot of us are already receiving our letters of approval. I think that a very conservative model has been proposed. We want it to be deeper. However, I think we also need to tread with a lot of caution, make sure that the incentive structures of the bank assurance agreements that we have are similar, so we don't further mess up our industry and give it to outsiders.
Summing up the session, the chairman, Mrs. Lamikara, said that for the industry to adapt regulation, the regulator must have higher skills and knowledge than the entities they regulate.
We need to adapt regulation. I think that's what's important. And for us to adapt regulation, it means the regulator has to have higher skills than the industry. Because we'll take Solvency II and we then need to say, how do we fit it into where we are? We fit into an industry where growth is extremely important. How do we take the new IFRS standard 17 and say, how do we roll out? And I know that, there were discussions. I think George walked out and he wants to pull together a team that includes some of us practitioners to define how exactly do we adopt this in Nigeria. And I think, just to encourage that those are some of the things that we need to do, and we need to do fast in terms of what we do.
The last paper of the conference, entitled Managing Intellectual Capital, was delivered by Mrs. Sibyl Etuk, Vice President, Head Human Resource, Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority. With the paper presentations over, delegates entered into a no-holds-barred interactive session with the Commissioner for Insurance and his team.
Products, insurance companies have been on the rise over the years. We can start from that point, in the sense that particularly non-life insurance premiums are in cycles. That's depending on which cycles they are in, either in the soft premium or hard premium, depending on the economic cycle. So every company should be able to raise their premiums, submit it to NICOM as they have been doing before. If then NICOM can see if a company is selling below that product rate from the beginning of the year, they should know that this company has defaulted.
Sharing his thoughts on some of the questions raised during the interactive session, the Commissioner said that if the Commission is to act strictly by its laws, they will be cancelling licenses of operators every week.
If we pursue every complaint with the legal week, we are going to be cancelling licenses every week. We are not in the job of killing companies. So we hope that you will understand when we have to yield the big stick on some of you. But every time we do, they will go and use the association and come as a market issue, not the individual issues they have. We have companies that go to court to delay payment of claims, knowing that they don't have a case in court. We have a company that has moved one case to 5 courts and to 3 appeals of judgment, just because they don't want to pay.
And so gradually, the 2017 National Insurance Conference came to an end with Sir M.O. Oyegunle announcing that there will be no communique, but they will set up a committee to look at the various issues raised and work on it before the 2018 edition.
For the communique for this year, for those who have listened attentively since yesterday morning, there is, a single train of discussions. One, that we should look inward. We agreed customer education and penetration is a major issue. We all agreed that the issue of regulations is a major issue, and of course, skills development in the industry. And good we had this session before the open forum, because the chairman of this session have indeed educated all of us, and of course the chairman of the ARMS too, as to what the industry is doing in regard to these issues that are raised. And they've all agreed that the industry will set up a committee to look at these issues. Probably what we can demand from them is that instead of having a separate committee, instead of having a separate communique, by the time we come here next year, we'll be looking forward to that, what the committee have been able to achieve for the industry. Then we can assess them, whether we'll clap for them or we'll tell them to go back to the drawing board.
No doubt, the 2017 edition of the National Insurance Conference was a huge success. The stage is now set for the 2018 edition, which will hold hopefully between the 8th and 10th of July at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja.
Alright, that is our time on the program this week. It was a pleasure having you for company, and I do hope you enjoyed every moment spent with us. You can join us again next week for another fresh package, but in the meantime, feel free to connect with us across all our social media platforms. Don't forget also that this program airs on BCOS Television Ibadan every Thursday by 6 p.m. I am Margaret Mary Usiobor. Until next week, it's goodbye.